Hey everybody, welcome to Star Corner. Today our special guest is Nikki and she's going to be telling us what was it like being an exchange student and her journey. So let's dive in. So Nikki, tell us a little bit about yourself and what are you currently studying now?
Hi, I'm Nikolija Zlatevska. I'm a first year college student at the Faculty of Economics in Skopje. I was an exchange student during the year 2022-2023. I spent a whole 10 months in the US. I learned a lot from that experience and I want to share it with everyone. And I hope to inspire some people that want to apply to that exchange and become future leaders in their country and learn more, basically.
Yes, what made you want to become an exchange student?
It's actually a long story. Basically, when I was very little, I started learning English when I was 3 years old with my aunt. And she was my biggest inspiration for everything. So whenever I talked to her and my uncle, we always talked about how I will study abroad and live in America and try to experience the US culture. And I was gonna go to New York, California, all these big states. And during my first year of high school, I found out about the YES program. And I was like, I have to apply. And I told my parents and they were like, no, but my aunts and uncle were like, okay, you're just starting high school, it's COVID, let's slow it down a little bit, apply next year. And I was like, okay, I'll listen to you guys. And then the following year, I was basically second year in high school, I discovered the program again by a TikTok that came up on my For You page. One of the alumni was doing them, and I was like, okay, this is a sign, like I have to apply. And I told my parents, they're like, no, you can't apply, they won't accept you, and you're just not you're not in for the program. Why would you go to America when you are studying here economics and you can build a career for yourself and stuff like that. They're very traditional in that sense. But as I spoke to my aunt and uncle, they were like, you're never gonna have a chance to do this ever again. Meaning in high school. In college, yeah, but for high school it was only first and second year. Then there's another program that's for anywhere in the world that's in third and fourth year. But I was like, I have to do this. And they were very pushy and they were very inspirational and they were giving me all this advice and how it will have an impact on me, on my future, on my career, on my self-development overall. And I applied without my parents knowing. And I literally waited until the last day. I remember I submitted my application at 11:52. The deadline was 11:59 at night. And I was like, damn, if I get accepted into this, I will literally cry. And that's what happened. I had this amazing teacher that was a mentor to me in high school. She was my IT professor. And I told her about it. She wrote me a recommendation letter and everything. And I was just shocked that I was accepted, honestly, because after the first round happened, when I got to the semifinals, I told my parents, I applied for this program and I'm a semifinalist. And they're like, they're not going to accept you. Why are you even trying? And I was like, bruh, what the heck? No. And then we talked about it and they were like, are you sure this is a step you want to take? And I was like, yeah, obviously it's a dream of mine. And yeah, and then I got a finalist. I got the interview, which made me so happy, honestly. I was over the moon. But yeah, it was a very long experience to get accepted into the program. But my dream stemmed from my aunt and her always traveling to work and study abroad and just basically learn more from the countries that she's been in. And right now she works in Dubai, which is for me wow, how? And yeah, she's my biggest inspiration, so.
What were your first impressions when you went to America?
It was when I arrived, so first, the way the program works, when you land in Washington, D.C., and you spend 3 days there. So we didn't get to travel much and we didn't really get to see what the US is besides airports and the hotel we stayed at. So, and we met a few dogs. We had a dog meet and greet when we got there, which was super cute but random. And then when I actually arrived in Arkansas, where I was placed, Rogers, Arkansas to be specific, I met up with my host family and they were late and I was freaking out and I was so scared. I was like, what am I doing here? How did I manage to get to this other continent without my parents' knowledge in the beginning? And I was super freaked out. But as soon as we were like driving through the neighborhood, I was like, wow, this is very American. Like, I remember I was filming the scenery of the houses and I was like, this is from a movie. Like, I've seen these houses in a movie before. So that was my first impression. Like, the scenery was very movie-like, like very suburban, very like homey town like vibes. Like, I don't know how to explain them better, but it was very interesting. But otherwise, like later on, as I started getting more knowledge and I got accommodated to everything, my perspective shifted, obviously. But yeah.
What was like your differences in the school system here compared to America?
It's very different in my opinion. Like some people say, oh, American high school is like High School Musical. No. It's definitely not like High School Musical. Some people went in with those expectations from my generation and they were very, very disappointed. Like, obviously it's fun and there's a lot of stuff to do that we don't get to do here. For example, they have a lot of extracurricular activities. So I was a part of the archery team. Here, I don't think there's archery anywhere to go and just practice in a team, you know? But also there's a lot of like sports that they do. There's a lot of like creative classes that they have. I was placed in a charter school, which is something in between like a private and a public school. It's more so treated as a business. It doesn't have a principal, it has a CEO. And basically it was an art school. It's Arkansas Arts Academy. And I loved that school. It was so interesting, so weirdly cool in a way. Like, we had a lot of arts classes, obviously, it's an art school. But my favorite class was culinary with my teacher, Charity Tuttle. I love her to death. She is my favorite person ever. She left such a huge impact on me. Aside from her, Miss Funderburg, I also love her. She was my economics teacher and my civic education teacher. I think that was the subject. Don't count me on that. But
Okay.
yeah.
What is your favorite moment that you're gonna treasure?
I have a lot of favorite moments, and I would like to talk about a few. One of my most fond memories was when I got asked to prom by my best friend, Autumn. I loved and still do the show Friends, and they use a specific font during the entrance, and they also have a theme song. So it's about like, I'll be there for you, blah 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 blah. Don't want to get demonetized. But she basically wrote on this huge sign, I'll be there for you at prom, will you be there for me? And she wrote that, and like in the middle of our econ class, she just randomly stood up and pulled the sign up, and I was laughing so hard. The teacher cried. She was like, this is the sweetest thing I've ever seen, like best friends asking each other to prom. And I was crying and laughing at the same time because nobody had done something special for me like that. And I was freaking out. My friend Carmel was sitting in front of me, and he like stood up and started filming everything. And it was just spectacular, honestly. It was a moment that I will forever remember because I was laughing so much when I saw the sign. I did not expect it even a little bit, because we did talk about going to prom, and I was like, I don't have a date, you don't have a date, let's go together. And then other friends joined in on the idea, and we were like, okay, we'll go as a group. But I didn't expect her to have that experience, like give me that experience, you know what I mean? So I love her. Thank you for that, Autumn. But yeah,
shout out to Autumn.
Yes, that's probably one of my favorite memories. Also, I have a few memories that are like outside of school. For example, my friend KJ and we went to Barnes & Noble this one time, and there's a Starbucks in the Barnes & Noble, and I wanted to order a strawberry refresher with lemonade. And I go up to the guy, and I don't know why I was so flustered, and instead of like starting to speak English to him, I started speaking in Macedonian, and he just looked at me, and I was like, frick, no. And he was like, sorry, can you repeat that? And I was like, yeah, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I was like blushing like crazy, and he was laughing so much in the background. And then we got books, and we were laughing about everything, so it was a fond memory. Also, like, I experienced Thanksgiving in the US. That was spectacular. I wrote letters of gratification and gratitude to my host family because obviously they host me, they do a lot for me, and I just wanted to express my thankfulness. So I wrote each member a letter, and I also wrote one for my host grandparents. It was just a fun evening. I got to make shopska salata for them, and I made pogača. And also, for Christmas, like Macedonian Christmas, Orthodox Christmas, I made a whole feast. I made gravče tavče, I made zilnik, I made ajvar homemade, I made pinju.
What did you do? Are you freaking? Oh my god, it's real sweet. No water. Instead of next time, she's gonna fight with her. You're cute.
I made like all these things, like completely handmade. I made baklava, and I made the bread where you put the coin in and you have to break it. So we did that activity, and my host dad got the coin, so that was really fun to watch them and like share a part of my culture with them. And also we had international food fairs throughout the year, so I had to cook like Macedonian food, and I love cooking. And like I feel like when you share your cooking and like the food you make in general and have with people, like that spreads like some sort of like warmth within me, because I'm like, oh, they're eating the food I made. But it was really fun. And I remember on my last day of school, I was so sad. I was crying so much, but I stayed up the whole night and the whole previous day I made 3 types of burek. I made like over 50 kifli. I made pinjur. I made what else did I make? I made baradera. I made baklava. I made I don't know. I made like a bunch of stuff, and like I spread it out on this table. I made cake. Like I was doing way too much, but I was like, I'm probably never gonna see these people again in my life. Why not leave a departing gift for them? Because obviously the school did a lot for me, and I love them a lot. Like there hasn't been a professor that hasn't left an impact on me. Even like Mr. Jones, I remember he didn't like. I didn't have him for any classes, but whenever we saw each other in the hallway or during a school activity, like we had this like coffee hour thing where we had it throughout the year, and there was like bands playing music, and you had to like drink coffee and like eat snacks with your friends, and you could just hang out, and like that event like rose money for prom and stuff like that. But I remember whenever I saw him, he would wear these like plaid skirts, like Irish skirts, I don't know what they're called, but it was so funny to see him like that, because I was like, if I see a professor like this in Macedonia, first of all, I will never see a professor that chill and that like comfortable. And I remember we went to school like with pajamas and stuff like that in the US. Like that was crazy to me. I was like, why aren't people like trying to like dress up and look cute or whatever, you know? Because here we have to like look presentable in high school, you know, or in college, whatever. But there people didn't care at all. Like we had a whole week where we did like dress like Adam Sandler. We love Adam Sandler. But we had to like wear PJs, we had to like dress like someone else, like dress like your favorite teacher. It was amazing, honestly. But
like, who did you dress as your favorite teacher?
I didn't get dressed that day.
Okay.
I didn't.
You had a lot of favorite teachers.
Yeah. Well, it's not that I had a lot of favorite teachers, that's why I didn't dress. It was mostly like I didn't have time. It was towards the end of the year, and I was like already doing way too much. Like I remember I have so many memories. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. But I went to a Lizzo concert. With my host mom. I mentioned it once. I was like, oh, Lizzo has a concert in Oklahoma. Like, isn't that close? And she was like, yeah. Have you been? And I was like, no. And she was like, okay, we're gonna go. And I was like, no. I'm not paying for like $300 for a ticket to go see Lizzo. Like, even though we love her, but no. She then like surprised me with the tickets, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to see an actual like popular singer that like is known globally. And I'm like, wow, okay. And we did go. Like, I bought this dress, and like it was super fancy. We were in the pit, and I remember I pulled up my phone, and everybody was saying like how far they traveled, and I traveled from a different continent to see you, even though it wasn't for her. I just said it. I pulled it up on my phone. She was like, wow, such a dedicated fan coming from a different continent, like. And she said something else, like, and I was like, okay, yeah, yay, she saw me. Like, it was super random. I was still in like awe of everything. I didn't understand what was happening. And then like she pulled up a girl in front of me on the stage, and like she had talked to her, and they started singing a song, and I was like, that could have been me if I just pushed in a little bit and got to the front, you know? Because the pit is crazy, like insane. Anyway, that's also a fun memory. We also went to different places in Oklahoma with my host mom and my host brother. I love him. He was so sweet and so kind. He gave me this deck of Pokemon cards when I was leaving, and he wrote me this card in sweet message, and it was really nice. And I'm gonna cry just thinking about it, but I really do miss them, and I hope I get to see them one day.
Yeah, hopefully you do.
Another memory that I just thought of is my senior trip. Basically, we went to Silver Dollar City in Missouri, which is like an amusement park. And they had like all these rides and stuff like that. I went there previously with my host family, and I have really fond memories from that. But the senior trip was so special because I wasn't gonna go. You had to pay $100 to go to the senior trip, and I was like, for a day? No way. $100 to go to a park? No, thank you. Because in my eyes, I'm viewing that as Macedonian dinners, and I'm like, it's not worth it. Why would I go just for a day and spend that much money and spend even more money there? But my host mom convinced me to go, and she was like, okay, it's once in a lifetime opportunity. You're missing your junior trip back at home, so you should go to this one. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So I did go. It was really fun. Like, I got to experience all the rides, and I remember there was this ride called the Time Traveler, and you basically spin, but it doesn't just spin you like around, it spins you like upside down and stuff like that. So I had my glasses on the first time I went on it, and I didn't realize like I would go upside down, I would flip. So literally as I'm flipping around, my glasses are like hanging off like this, and I'm like trying to hold them down as with like all my strength because I was getting dizzy, I was getting nauseous. And it was just super, like, scary. Like, I didn't want to lose my glasses because if I would go to a doctor there, it would cost so much. Like, my insurance wouldn't have covered that because I would have to get new glasses, a prescription, and whatever. But that was really fun. And then a few days later, we had prom, which was also amazing, like I mentioned. It was a super fun experience. I wore this pretty green dress, and it was just overall amazing. Later on, after prom, we went to McDonald's. Like, so American just thinking about it. Like, we went to McDonald's to get food, and I got this like, the Oreo McFlurry thingy, whatever it is. And I was just sitting there eating my ice cream in my green dress, my hair all made up, my makeup done, and whatever. And I'm like, I would not experience this in Macedonia. Like, the closest thing after prom, you go to Silva and eat Like, I was like, okay, I'll get to experience this again next year, but it's too long. Like, I was so, like, I don't know, it was just amazing.
So Nikki, did you ever feel homesick when you're in your exchange?
So before you go to the program, you obviously have all these like lessons and stuff like that about how you should act, do and whatever. And one of the things was like if you get homesick, how you should act and like what are the emotions you will go through throughout the year. And I literally got to the US the first day. Like I went to bed, well the second day obviously. I went to bed, I woke up and I was experiencing such a turmoil. I went through all of the phases in one day. I was crying, I was angry, I was, I don't know, happy. I went through like all these emotions in one day. And that was the only time I would say I felt homesick because at the end of the day, I knew I was going back home. So I was trying to spend as much time as I could with the people there. And I tried to be present in the moment because obviously I was going to see my parents in like a few months. So I didn't feel homesick, I would say. But when I came back, I experienced such a reverse culture shock. Like, I remember going from the airport home, and we just passed the buses, and I cried. I was crying for Yllka. I was crying because I saw the red buses, and it was so funny because, why are you crying about buses? Like, huh? And it was just because I didn't have that in the US and I missed it about home. And I remember the first few months back were so crazy because I missed Arkansas so much and I missed the people there so much. Like it was so difficult coming back here, and because like the cultures are obviously so different. Like my day-to-day there was completely different from what it is here. And I feel like being a part of the program as an alumna and becoming a city representative and now a university representative for the program, which means like you have to organize projects and events, and it's voluntary basis, so it's very fun and you get to spend time with the alumni and people everywhere. So that was really nice to have people around me and have those friends that have went through the same process as me to help me adjust back home. So that was really.
Yeah, what did you learn about yourself during this exchange?
That I'm a people person. Like, I didn't know how much I loved being around people before my exchange. Like, I remember I used to refuse hugs. Even with my friends, I wasn't a touchy person. I wasn't like, I would be like, get away from me. Do not touch me. But during my experience in the US, I grew to like hugs. Became very touchy. I became very expressionate. And it was just so, I don't know, opening for me. I became much more confident. I opened up to a lot more opportunities, a lot more like experiences, and I just became more open-minded about everything. Even before going to the US, I knew you had to go with an open mind, but being there actually opened me up so much more and made me grow in ways that I couldn't have grown here. Like, I feel like I became so much more mature, so much more independent because of my experience. And it was just overall like eye-opening in a way.
Great, Nikki. Would you recommend now this experience to other people?
Of course. And I would love to talk to people more about the program and what it has to offer and the whole process behind it, how you should apply, how you get accepted and everything like that. And I would love if people contacted me and asked questions because the program did so much for me, and I feel like I'll always be in debt to it. I'll always try to basically compensate for everything that is done for me. That's why I keep being active and organizing projects and trying to have an impact on my community here because I want that US experience shared here and with the locals and everything like that. So I want people to actually go to the US and experience the program for themselves.
Great, Nikki. Thank you. And now, what are the 3 words you use to describe your experience?
Extraordinary, fun, creative.
Great, Nikki. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me.